Now you're one income paying for the same mortgage, paying for all the same expenses. We know people who have gone this road, and the financial burden has really put a stress on them.
But then at the same time, if you're scared to look at your financial situation, to really look at where you're at right now and what it's going to look like next month and what it's going to look like next year, you can run into a lot of problems trying to take care of that home that once had two incomes and now only has one. Hi, my name's Wendy Rovers. I'm a certified divorce coach and founder of Divorce Thrive. Today, I'm speaking with Robyn Yack, a real estate sales representative in the GTA. Robyn and her partner Cheryl are passionate about working with people transitioning through divorce. Today, we are going to touch on the importance of working with a realtor who understands the divorce process. What is the matrimonial home? The difference between common law with respect to the matrimonial home, and how do you decide if selling your home is the right choice for you? Robyn, it's great to be having this conversation with you here today.
Thanks so much, Wendy. I'm so excited to be here and to give some valuable information to your listeners.
Awesome. All right, let's dive in. When a person is transitioning through divorce and they decide to sell their home, why is it important for them to work with someone like yourself who understands the divorce process?
That's a very good question. And you know what? When somebody is transitioning through divorce, they're very emotional and they've got a lot to think about. And when you sell a home in the best of times, there's a lot of emotions involved. But when you add in the whole factor of divorce, their emotions are much more heightened. But there's so many things that you need to think about that your average realtor doesn't consider or doesn't know if they're not specialized in this area. For example, just something simple, it's okay, well, we make sure to notify our clients once the deal, they've firmed up a deal and they're working out, moving towards their move date. You can't wait until the date of the move to decide who's going to take what from the house. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting on the lawn with the movers, which isn't a very efficient use of your time or the movers' times. And this does happen.
Mhm.
So, this is one thing you really need to tell your clients and prepare them for, among a whole slew of other things that we're going to discuss, anyways, today.
Yeah, so what are the slew of other things? What else is important? What should people be considering when they're transitioning through divorce and they call you, you're the expert, you understand the divorce process, you understand the emotions, you understand the overwhelm. What are the other few things that they should really be considering right now?
Well, first of all, you also have to think about, are you and your ex partner going to work with the same real estate agent? A lot of people think that both parties need to agree on the real estate agent that they're choosing.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, if it's an amicable divorce, then you might be able to come up with someone that is agreeable to both of you. But you don't need to. Each of you can be represented by your own real estate agent, and that ensures that your best interests are being serviced. And a lot of people are surprised by this. So that's one of the key factors that you should consider. Additionally, there are other things like what what's going to happen when you're putting the house up for sale. So you put the house up for sale, you need to agree on a list price, you need to agree on showing dates, you need to agree on what repairs, if any, are going to need to be done to get the house ready for listing.
Hmm.
All these things, again, are you going to agree or not agree? And we have experience dealing with family lawyers, mediators, arbitrators. So we know the whole process on what can happen and how to get to a point of some form of an agreement. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the two parties are agreeing. It might mean that the lawyers have to go to mediation or arbitration to get to that. So, for example, if we advise our clients that certain repairs need to be done, well, who's going to pay for that? And if they can't agree, but it needs to be done, then one party will pay for it and then notify the family lawyers so that in the end it gets rectified when they close the sale, and it all gets evened out when with the proceeds of the sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I actually, it's interesting to know that two parties can hire two different real estate agents. So if you're interested in working with someone who's the expert in divorce, you can reach out to Robyn and Cheryl, for example, and then your soon-to-be ex-partner is free to work with someone else. That's cool to know. I mean, I didn't know that either, so that's great.
A lot of
Um,
people don't know that. And yes, there is more intricacies in what is called a co-listing,
yep.
um, because you're dealing with two brokerages probably, and so who's gonna take the lead and who's gonna receive the offers and what kind of communication is gonna happen between the two agents. So it is ideal if you can agree on an agent, but it's not your only option.
Right. In the work that do you primarily work with both parties? Is that
Uh,
most common?
we've done both.
Okay.
We've also done very often, um, one party wants to have the authority to sell the property without the other party's input. So basically, when it's a matrimonial home, it doesn't matter if both your names are on title. If one name is on title, then the other party needs to provide spousal consent to selling it. So in some cases, depending on the situation, one party wants to have the sole rights to sell and do and make all the decisions. So a court order would come into play. And then there's only one party to deal with.
Okay. Okay. Great. Now, um, what's the importance of knowing your separation date?
Well, because the separation date is the date that all property and assets are determined on. So that's the date that whatever value is given on that date, when the lawyers factor in the equalization process of the assets, it's that date that they look to. So it's really, really important. A lot of people think, oh, I'm separated. We separated on such and
Mhm.
such a date. But if you don't have something in writing where you're both agreeing to that, as time goes on, it might cause more issues. It might cause you to argue with your partner, because if, let's say, I say the date was August 18th, but he says it's November 15th, and let's say there was a change in value of your assets, that could significantly affect the equalization process.
Mm-hmm. So get that organized first.
Yeah,
And
that's
do
one of the first things we tell our clients is, once you know that you're separating, put something in writing to each other where you sign off on agreeing on the date.
okay, right. That's important. Um, Now, what's the difference between marriage and common law with respect to the matrimonial home?
So this is a huge thing, and a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions on common law.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that if you've been living together as common law spouses for either a year or 3 years, that you have all the same rights as a married couple. When in fact, with respect to the matrimonial home, there is actually no rights with respect when it comes to common law. So
Mm,
the matrimonial home has its significance in the Divorce Act, and that does not apply to common law couples. When it comes to property for common law couples, including the matrimonial home, the way the asset would be divided is based on the title. So, first of all, if only one person's name is on title, then that person can sell the property without the approval or spousal consent of the other spouse. So, it could technically be sold out from under you. And even if you both have your names on title, it needs to be clear as to what percentage of the property you own. So just because you're both on title, it doesn't mean that you own the property 50-50. It's based on how much you've contributed and what kind of joint asset and what percentage you each own. So it's very important. And that's why we tell people that you should have a cohabitation agreement that clearly discusses this and states exactly what percentage each of you owns in the property.
Hmm. Now you've come up to divorce or separation. I guess it wouldn't be divorce, it would be
Right.
coming up to separation. Um, and you are cohabitating, you're living common law, and there is no agreement.
Yeah. Well,
Then
that's a
you're out.
problem.
That's a
Well,
problem.
it is a very big problem, and it really depends on how they've set up the again the names on title, and if
Hmm.
there's any documentation that explains uh, what you've put into the
Right.
property. So, for example, I know somebody who was living common law, and he had put a chunk of money in, but her name was on title and she had then put more money in. He didn't get back the money. That there was no record of
Mm,
it. So
right.
they sold the house and she got all the proceeds. So it's very important, and that's why anybody we know who is buying a property and is in a common law relationship, or that we come across that's living common law, we tell them it's never too late.
Right.
Get your ducks in a row.
Right. Yeah, just common sense and protect both of you. So everything is all ducks in a row, organized, and you're looking out for best interest of both of you. Yeah, when the
Right.
time comes, right?
And truthfully, it goes the other way too. If you're in a marriage, a lot of this is for a lot of young couples, when they purchase a home, they get funds from family members for the down payment.
Hmm.
Well, those funds will get consumed into the matrimonial home. So let's say there's a marriage breakdown and the wife's parents gave $50,000. Well, that $50,000 is not going to go back to the wife. Technically, only 25,000 would, because she's only allowed 50%,
That's right.
right? So in this case, again, family lawyers are saying it's important to have some form of a record, be it a mortgage or something, if you want that full amount to go back to the party that contributed it. And again, look, this is not my expertise, and that's why we say it's important to speak to a family lawyer so that everybody is, it's all great when everybody's happy and
Hmm.
things are great, but and nobody thinks, you don't get into a marriage thinking that there's going to be a breakdown.
Hmm.
But I think given the way things are now and that 50% of couples do end up in divorce, you want to protect yourself for the eventuality. Just like we all take insurance out. Nobody wants to get into an accident,
Hmm.
but we're preparing ourselves for the likelihood that something does happen.
Hmm. That's right. Yeah. So that would be a prenuptial agreement or something you're speaking of. Yeah. So and that, yeah, that is important. And it is all great when it's love and happiness and you're married and you're young, but just look at the business side of marriage as well. So there's the emotional love side and there's the business side, and you can look at both, and you can still look at them both together happily and have a great conversation and make sense of it. And then if something does happen, you're protected. You're right.
And I think years ago, the word prenuptial agreement, and now it's I don't think it's called that anymore, was so taboo, and every
Yeah.
people get so insulted if the
Yep.
other party approached this topic. But now it's much more common, and we strongly recommend that's the process that you take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, making an informed decision when deciding whether one spouse should remain in the matrimonial home for the sake of the children is something that people are doing. It's called nesting, or there's other terms that you might know of. How does that work, and how's it working for some of your clients? How do you feel about it? What do you think?
You know, I mean, I'm divorced myself, so I speak from my own experience, from our professional experience, from speaking as well with family lawyers and financial advisors that handle divorce clients.
Hmm.
And the reality is, I think a lot of people think that staying in the matrimonial home is in the best interest of the children. And so they try and find the best way to make it work. In my opinion, I actually think that you're actually not necessarily doing something in the best interest of the children. I think that the memories that the kids have of the family unit in that home stay with them as opposed to starting fresh. And let's this was past, and now it's time to move forward.
Hmm.
And the longer you delay that, I think it really does. It's like a band-aid that you don't, instead of just ripping it off, you do it slowly, and then it
Hmm.
really hurts. And aside from that, I think that the person who tries to remain in the house, they end up financially struggling. We know couples or people who have, been adamant about staying. They borrow money to, do the payout of the other spouse,
Hmm.
which is great. But don't forget, now you're one income paying for the same mortgage, paying for all the same expenses. And as I said, we know people who have gone this road, and the financial burden has really put a stress on them. So instead of just, starting fresh and moving forward, we just don't think that that's necessarily in the best interest. So we often will speak to people and say, we're happy to provide you opinions of value and help you go through the process of buying your ex spouse out. But we want you to reflect and make sure that you're making the right decision for you and your children as an informed decision, knowing all the facts, understanding
Hmm.
what this means in the long term. And these financial advisors that we've spoken to have often said to these spouses, you can't afford to do this long term.
And isn't it usually the moms?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's usually the moms that wanna stay. I mean, that's what I see as well, and they just are so, emotionally attached to their home. They're
right.
they're the maternal moms that are trying to take care of their children, and they really do think that this is best for their kids.
And especially if the husband was the leaver,
Right.
right? They feel like, why should I have to be uprooted?
Yeah,
And this is my home. But again, you need to move on.
yeah,
And are you yourself going to be able to move on if you're living in the family home? And you also, yes, we need to
yeah.
look out for our kids, but we need to look out for ourselves, because if we're not our best selves and happy, then our kids suffer.
Absolutely. And kids, I mean, it's an adventure. Life's an adventure. So kids will be fine moving into a new place and setting up a new room and painting it a certain color, and it all comes back to you and how you handle the situation. So I think a lot of times women are staying in the home because they are scared to move on. They're scared to move forward. But then at the same time, if you're scared to look at your financial situation, to really look at where you're at right now and what it's going to look like next month and what it's going to look like next year, you can run into a lot of problems trying to take care of that home that once had two incomes and now only has one. So
Exactly.
it is a real harsh look at where you're at financially and trying to create some financial independence for yourself moving forward.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a big one, moving out of the home and thinking that you don't want to ruin your kids' lives or disrupt their lives anymore, or damn it, I'm staying here no matter what. This is my home. Or you get rooted in and grounded into these belief systems that really don't make a lot of sense
yeah, I think it's very important.
sometimes.
Yes, I think it's very important that we remember that children living in a home with a family, with a couple that aren't happy together, feel that. So as much as we feel like our children are suffering because of our divorce, the reality is they will be far better off in
Hmm.
two homes with two happy parents than in one home with a couple living together miserable.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned that you bring to your work personal lived experience and now work with many, many clients. And you work with the lawyers and arbitrators and mediators and all kinds of other professionals that are working in the divorce industry. So, do you want to share a little bit about your story?
So I'm divorced many, many years. I think it's now on to 19 years. I was the one who chose to leave. And I wish that there were people like me around when I left.
Mm,
Because as much as I thought I had all my ducks in a row and I knew what I was doing and getting into, I didn't. And that's one of the reasons why we've decided to focus on this niche. And our goal is not only to help the couple or the individual sell their matrimonial home, but it's really to help them get from point A to point Z and to see that the sun will rise on the other end of this journey. Because there are so many things that you don't realize,
hmm.
that you don't know about. And we want to not only be there for them, but we want to help them, surround them with all the people around them that they will need. So we, as you said, we work with family lawyers, mediators, arbitrators, but we also work with a whole slew of other professionals who have dedicated their practice to couples going through a separation or divorce, accountants, financial advisors, divorce coaches, and we want to be able to give that all of our contacts to them. They don't have to, make decisions on day one, but to know that it's a journey. And it's not a sprint, it's a journey, and we will help them through that path. And I thought I had it all figured out
Hmm.
until so one of the things that, sticks with me all these years later was, you know, we had a house and, we decided we were getting separated. He wasn't happy. And I think it was a couple of weeks after I went to deposit my paycheck into our joint account, which was where the mortgage payment was coming out of. And that was when we actually had checks and they weren't
Hmm.
coming
I
automatically.
remember that.
And so I deposited it at the bank machine, and then I look at the balance, and his check was supposed to be deposited the day before, and he didn't deposit it. And
Mm,
so here I was standing on the corner of Yonge and Eglinton, crying, feeling very alone, and not knowing how my knowing my mortgage payment was going to bounce and what to do with this. So I'm very passionate about this. I want to be able to give to our clients the knowledge, the experience, and help prevent them from these like, oh wow moments.
mhm,
We can't prevent bad things from happening, but
mhm,
we can try and, give them guidance and give them information so that they can try to avoid it, or when these things happen we can say, yes, we know it's very emotional and this is happening to you, but here's what's going to happen after, and give them the peace of mind and try to bring them, off the ledge.
Yeah. The support.
Yeah,
They're not alone.
they
Uh,
aren't alone, and
they
that's
aren't alone. That's huge. Bringing the who's into their corner that can help them to grow and be better and see the sunshine on the other side of the rainy storm.
yeah.
Like that's great. I love that. All right, we've covered a lot today, and where can people find you, Robyn?
So you can find us at robinandcheryl.com.
Okay,
Uh, and then on social media, Robyn and Cheryl Real Estate. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and then I'm also on LinkedIn as Robyn Yack.
great. And we'll link that all up into the notes. And if anybody's looking for a great team to help them transition through divorce and sell their property with people that understand, are passionate, and care about what they're going through, they can reach out to you. So finally, what are three kind of takeaways or things that you think are most important for someone who's sitting here considering divorce, transitioning through divorce, thinking, geez, I might have to sell my home now? What are three messages that you'd leave them with? Three things that they should do, couple of actions, a message, three important things they should consider.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about, and it's very overwhelming when you're either,
Hmm.
anticipating or planning for this, or going through this. So I strongly suggest that you reach out to a real estate agent who does specialize in this
Hmm.
area, because they will help guide you on what your possibilities are. I mean, we will tell them, you can stay in the home, you can, you can sell your share to somebody else, or we can put the house up for sale. And what does that mean? And, so that's one of the things.
Hmm.
Make sure that if you're going down this road, or if you are already started this path, that you are working on or have your separation agreement signed, because you have to understand that if you're going to sell your matrimonial home and you do not have a signed separation agreement, the funds will remain with the lawyers until you can get this agreed upon. And understand that, and this is one thing that we didn't touch on, which is your matrimonial home may not be the main home that you live in only. There could potentially be more than one matrimonial home. So, for example, if you have a house in the GTA, but you also have a cottage in Muskoka that the family goes to in the summers, that would also be considered a matrimonial home. So it's very important that you understand all of these things. So, I mean, the key thing for anybody going through this is try and get the people that you know, the professionals around you that will support you. And one of those key professionals is a real estate agent.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very,
Surround yourself with the experts and with the people that care about what you're going through. Yeah, the experts, it's really important. Super. All right. Well, thanks for being here with me today. It's been great chat. I think we provided a lot of information and value to everyone. You all know where you can connect with Robyn. It's underneath the show notes here. She looks forward to chatting with you. Until next time, you're perfect, you're worthy, you are loved, and you will get through this. Thanks for being here.
thank you.